Is Josh Jobe someone that the Seattle Seahawks could look to keep beyond 2024? What's up, everybody? Good morning. Made it to Thursday. We're here waiting for the week of football to start. We got a game later tonight. We've got the stream with the Hawks Nest starting at about noon. So come check that out. We're going to talk a little about this Niners win. Going to talk about the upcoming Cardinals game. So check it out. Starts in about 3 hours from the upload of this video. All right. So we're going to do our pass coverage Thursday. As you guys know, we like to take a look at who's actually holding up in coverage and sometimes who isn't holding up in coverage. Because when you're watching the game live, sometimes it's hard to notice who's actually giving up what, who's in coverage, who should be here, who should be there, etc., etc. So it's good to actually look at this information at the end of the week, at the end of the game, to try to pull apart who is actually potentially being some kind of a problem and who is holding their own in the holding their own in coverage. Okay, so with that being said, we start with linebacker every week, and I'll tell you, it's not going terribly poorly. And it could easily be going poorly when your linebackers are a guy who got here less than a month ago and a rookie who you drafted in the 4th round. Like, that could easily be an area of this team that is getting lit up. It's really not. Now, Ernest Jones, we know he's not a great coverage player. He got targeted 4 times in this game, gave up 4 completions, but we're talking about less than 30 yards. I am happy with that. I am more than happy with that, especially on this team where there is a certain degree of risk in attacking our cornerbacks because Woolen is a ball hawk. Even at his worst, Woolen is still a ball hawk. And Witherspoon, I know he's not having the best year, but he's still immensely talented. So linebackers, especially one like Jones, who's a slower dude, that's good. If you look at the air yards versus the yards after the catch, it's about equal. So it's a little bit different from Baker and Dodson, right? This is kind of interesting. Baker and Dodson, everything they gave up was yards after the catch, pretty much. They gave up very few air yards. Ernest Jones, you can see they're attacking him in a different way. And I'm not here to say that it's better or that it's worse. It's just different. 100.3 QB rating allowed. And that gets us to Tyrese Knight, who, again, not really getting picked on, all things considered. This was definitely a game where Tyrese Knight could have been picked on because he's a rookie linebacker going against Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey and, well, not George Kittle, but this Niners offense that is so good and so talented and so productive. 3 targets for a grand total of 2 completions, and what are we dealing with here? 12 yards? So you combine Jones and Knight, you're talking about not even 50 yards, not even 40 yards, right? Yeah, just shy of 40 yards between those 2 guys. Give me more of that. I will be very happy if our 2 linebackers combined give up 40 yards in coverage per game for the rest of the season. Now, that's not very realistic, but this is the recipe for how Brock Purdy was so ineffective on Sunday. What did he end up with? Less than 200 yards passing? Like, this is how you get there. In previous games, if we had played the Niners last year or even the year before, you probably would have seen these guys, being our linebackers, give up over 100 yards in a game like this. And the fact that these guys are holding up, and I know they wouldn't have put up the same numbers if Kittle played, I get that, but this is really, really exciting because Knight should only get better. He is so young and relatively inexperienced. Nothing really new with the edge rushers. Boye Mafe did get targeted once in this game, but didn't get completed. So nothing really changes meaningfully for the edge rusher group. Not really getting targeted that much. Cornerback. This is where you make your money at the end of the day. And you can actually see they went at Witherspoon hard in this game. 8 targets in this game. And they didn't have a ton of success, 4 completions. I can live with that, no problem. We're talking about less than 40 yards on 8 targets. Now, a couple of those completions were tough, right? Like there was a 3rd and 11 on Witherspoon that got converted on the Niners. I think their final touchdown drive. He gave up a couple other pretty decent chunks, but 8 targets, less than 40 yards from an outside cornerback in a game where your pass rush was okay. Yeah, that's performing. And that's better than what we've seen from Witherspoon a lot this year. Just for context, he is about to match the number of receiving yards he's allowed in coverage so far this year from his rookie year. His rookie year, it was like 450. 450. And you can see a lot of it's yards after the catch, so it's not all his fault, but it's good to see a game where he really just holds up and manages to bring his numbers down. Woolen, also not bad. Now, Woolen, the main low light for Woolen this week was that play where on 3rd and 11, he had a chance, along with like Julian Love and at least one other player, to make a tackle short of the sticks, and he got bullied past the sticks. That's an ugly play. It highlights everything with Woolen that is that we don't like. But in coverage, 5 targets, he gave up 4 completions, and they went for about 25 yards. Again, that's winning football. That is winning football if you are the Seahawks defense, if you're a Seahawks fan. And I do want to continue to stress here that Riq Woolen, for all of his shortcomings, has allowed all of 100 and not even 160 receiving yards in coverage this year. He's allowed less than, well, a little more than 55% completion. He's still really good in these areas. It's just the stuff that he's not quite there yet with that is really kind of holding him back. And the things that he's bad at, he is so bad at. But I'm telling you, the stuff he's good at it's pretty remarkable. 81.6 QB rating allowed, so it is creeping up, unfortunately. But mostly that's because of the touchdowns. And I can live with him giving up a bunch of touchdowns. I feel like the yards are actually more of a problem when you're a cornerback in coverage. I feel like that's a little bit more indicative of whether or not you're playing well. So I'm not that torn up about him giving up 4 touchdowns on the year, especially when they all came in 2 games. But this is the calculus of Riq Woolen going forward, and I don't know what to expect. I don't think that McDonald views Woolen as being what he wants out of a corner, but he might be willing to live with it because some of the stuff is good. And the only other cornerback to play snaps for us this week was Jobe. And I'll tell you, this would have been a game where a guy like a Josh Jobe, who did play a good chunk of the game, could have been the target. He could have been the mark for Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan. He got targeted twice, gave up 2 completions, and for a total of not even 20 yards, 17 yards. He was not the mark. They barely looked his way at all. They targeted Witherspoon more and Woolen more. So, obviously, Jobe was not a player we were thinking about at the start of the season. We didn't even really know who he was at the start of the season, but we now have a pretty decent sample size of Jobe holding his own. QB rating allowed 57.2. It's actually one of the best in the league. Now, I'm not saying he's one of the best corners in the league, but there's something here, and it seems like the Seahawks have already made a decision that he is better than Trey Brown, and they like what he brings to the table more than Trey Brown. And I think he's going to be a free agent after this season, but we got to start asking, like, do we keep this guy around? Remember, Brown is probably gone in free agency, especially now where we don't even want to play him, even though he's supposedly healthy. So does Jobe stick around? Is he a meaningful part of this team going forward? And is that a good thing? Feels like the answer might be yes. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop with this guy, but it hasn't dropped yet. Period. Really good. Julian Love, he gave up the 1 touchdown, which was kind of ugly. The touchdown he gave up looked bad because he was not within 10 yards of the player. 4 targets, though. 4 completions. Did he really get murked in this game? Not really. It wasn't great. We're talking about, what, 36 yards? 36 yards, that's okay. A safety I want a little bit better. And Love's always kind of had an issue with giving up significant numbers in the passing game. It feels like ever since he got here. It wasn't the case in New York. And he gives up the touchdown, so his QB rating's back up through the roof, 107.4. Not really what you want to see. I think that Love is still playing pretty decently this year. I'm not hating on him as like a bad player, but this is the second year in a row now where Love seems to be a guy that opposing defenses target in coverage, even though he's playing well in some other areas, maybe. And Kobe Bryant, real good. 1 target, 1 completion for a grand total of 5 yards. Again, he's playing safety. He's not really going to get targeted all that much. I like what I see from him. And I hope that with Rayshon coming back, Kobe doesn't lose playing time. I want to find out if this is real or not, because that makes this upcoming offseason much easier if Kobe Bryant's part of the future in terms of safety. 75.7 rating when targeted on 15 targets. So I think it feels like he's found something here, and I'm really happy because he is a fun player. All right, that's going to do it for this week of Pass Coverage Thursday. Let me know what you think. I will see you guys later. Go Hawks.